I call to order the October 14th, 2025 meeting of the City of Port Washington Board of Public Works. Committee member Haley is absent tonight, but looks that we have a quorum. So move to item 2, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we have any questions, comments on the minutes of the previous meeting?
I have no questions. I've just moved to approve.
All right, so you have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we got a second. Any comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That'll move us on to item 3, public comments and appearances. If anyone would like to make a public comment or appearance, we'll give you about 3 minutes, and please make sure to give your name and address before speaking. Any comments or step up to the microphone. Okay.
Hey everybody, my name is Paige Christ. I live on Terrace Drive, last house on Terrace Drive on the dead end on the Conservancy side, right next to Pete Weiss's old field. And I had a couple concerns. I see that the sewer and water pipes are out there ready for the data center, which is great. But my concern lies with Valley Creek and the drainage and lack of drainage. And I'm hoping that you guys are working on a plan to kind of dredge that out, so all the water, when it rains and completely floods that field, has somewhere to go instead of flooding the entire Conservancy. And I have pictures back 18 years of how much it floods, like up into our yard, up into the neighbors' yards, floods some people's houses. And then there's like dead ash trees in there too at weird angles that kind of prevents the flow of water. So that leads to more water coming on everybody's backyard and property. So if anybody wants those pictures, I can provide them. Literally, the last couple of years, there have been waves in the field. It's so flooded. At spring is like the worst. And then that rain that we had back in, I think it was August, when we got all that rain, it was like the worst I've ever seen. So those are all my concerns, and I hope you guys, whatever your plan is for the Valley Creek thing that's coming up, I hope you're gonna address all of those. And that's it. Paige Christ, yeah. Roger. Hey, nice to meet you.
I'll take the pictures
Okay.
if you have them. If they're digital or,
Yeah, I can email them to you.
yes, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is on tonight's agenda, so we're going to go over what the plan is there, and hopefully that will help alleviate some of the flooding issues by you as well. All right, anyone else have any public comments or appearances? Seeing none, then we'll move on to item 4, presentation on 30% design concept for Valley Creek.
Okay, yeah, I'm excited to have with us tonight. Amy, are you going to speak first? Yeah. Amy Lentz, who's the, you can come up, the Executive Director of the Lakeshore Natural Resources Partnership, or LNRP. With her tonight is Sarah Majerus, who's a scientist from Stantec, Aaron Volkanine, who's a hydrologist with Stantec, and Patrick Philbin, who's a stream restoration engineer. They'll provide the 30% essentially progress report on the design of Valley Creek improvement. This, as you may know, is being funded by a grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and ultimately through NOAA, a grant from NOAA and Wisconsin Coastal Management. And what we were considering at the last meeting was having this be a public information meeting, but we changed gears and decided that it'd be better if we gave the presentation to you first and got some feedback, and then that will take a couple months. And then our intention is that at the December meeting, we'll roll it out to the people who live in the adjacent to the water, or to the creek itself. So so I'll stop talking and I'll let Amy lead the presentation.
I'm not lead, to be clear, I'm just doing the intro part. All right, hi everyone. So yeah, like Rob said, I'm Amy Lentz. He did our introductions for us, which is really exciting. So we're gonna kind of walk through my part, which is the partner engagement and kind of LNRP's role and community engagement aspects. And I'll be really brief on that. And then we'll kind of go through the funding, the history, and then the engineers will talk about the 30% design. So that's kind of just a broad overview. Rob has my contact information though, so if anybody has any questions that don't get addressed, please reach out to me, and you can go through Rob, and I'm sure he's excited to get more emails. So anyway, so Lakeshore Natural Resource Partnership, some of this may look familiar to you guys. I came in front of you last summer to get approval on our memorandum of understanding to contract us to do this work. But we've been implementing our education and outreach. So I kind of have three key components of that we're doing right now. So the first is undergraduate research. We're partnering with the School of Freshwater Sciences as well as Wisconsin Sea Grant. And so the School of Freshwater Science, this is our second year, and the students go out to the creek, they collect water quality data, and then they compile that data and give a presentation to Stantec, the city, and LNRP as kind of their final project course deliverable. So this is the second year. One of the things that's really interesting, the first year discovered some kind of surprisingly high E. coli in certain spots. And so one of the things that we're working on this year is to kind of trace that. So we're partnering again with UW-Milwaukee School of Freshwater Science to run some assays to do DNA testing on the bacteria to determine kind of where that's coming from, and that'll help inform the design. And then we're partnering with Wisconsin Sea Grant to do biodiversity and habitat assessment. So the idea of this undergrad research is not only is it workforce development, but it's also a way to get baseline pre-construction data so that once the creek is finally constructed, we can say, hey, it's actually so much better because we have data from before. We're also working on public communication and programming. So this photo I have here is from the raw footage. We had a drone kind of fly over the whole creek. And so far we've shared that internally, but we hope to kind of have before and after, do some cool videos of certain sections of the creek as well. And so that's something that like LNRP is working on as a way for the city as well as for Stantec and us to kind of promote the work on this project. So stay tuned for more on that. We also have we worked originally with the UWM, again, with their GIS class, and we created a story map template, and we've been kind of working with our internal team to finalize that. And my understanding is that that's done. So with the public, we're hoping to have an area at the bottom of the story map that has room for like public comments. So that would go directly to kind of an email address that our project team would look at. So we're hoping that that's a space for the public to kind of compile their feedback during the process, as well as provide updates for folks throughout design, construction, and maintenance. And then, yeah, like Rob mentioned, we're hoping to do a meeting for like the landowners, for folks whose property is adjacent to the creek or closer. And that'll be a more technical presentation from our design boys, as I call engineers. And last but not least, we've been kind of engaging different agencies. So we have had Wisconsin Coastal Management, who partially funded this project, Senator Tammy Baldwin in her office, the Wisconsin DNR, and then CALM, which is a networking group of other municipalities. And we've had them all on site visits to just kind of allow agencies to see what we're doing here and look for potential funding opportunities. Again, I say other ideas because if anyone has any ideas for agencies, or if there's any groups that you're connected to that may want to have a visit of the site, I'm literally under contract with you to provide that. And last but not least is just areas for expansion. We're hoping to have a ADA review of the designs by Portal Inc. That's something that once we get a little further in the design process, we'll look at, specifically with community accessibility to the creek, as well as collaborating with the indigenous leadership on some like what the ecological management might look like. I mentioned the E. coli sourcing, and then kind of getting some school field trips. It's something we did a little bit early in the project, but other things have had a ton of momentum, and I'd love to get back to that. So that is a quick synopsis of kind of the community outreach component of this project. And now I will give it over to Stantec for the technical stuff. Technical, whatever.
Thanks, Amy. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Maderas. I'm a scientist, like Rob said, and project manager for Stantec. And work really closely with Melissa Curran, my colleague, who I think you've all met or seen present previously, to acquire funding for this project in cohort with LNRP and the city of Port Washington. just a little quick background on the project, and then I'll talk about funding sources and our schedule moving forward, and then turn it over to the engineering team. So I think a lot of you are already familiar with some of the previous design work that's been done, but the critical pieces of that puzzle that will contribute to the Valley Creek design include the Lake Street culvert daylighting work that was done a few years back in 2019, and then the work that Limnotech did on the Gunther Pond area, both of which we're considering and trying to incorporate into this project. Ecological restoration planning occurred in 2023 and has been ongoing since then throughout the Valley Creek watershed. That will continue to be a major component of the Valley Creek design as well. And then, of course, stormwater management planning. That's been ongoing with Aaron since, oh gosh, way back, right? So some of those elements from the 2024 plans will be incorporated in this design. So a lot of the funding that was acquired for those projects that I just talked about provided match and helped build the momentum for this Valley Creek project. The funds that have been secured thus far, Rob mentioned NIFWIF and the National Coastal Resiliency Fund, and then the Wisconsin Coastal Management Program, Bipartisan Infrastructure Law are the major funders behind the design itself. We're funded to get to final design on at least a portion of the project. So that's great news. And then we hope to have at least a portion of the project to final design by May of 2026 so that we can apply for additional NOAA funding for construction. That'll help put the final puzzle pieces together. Schedule moving forward, you can see where we are to date. We're running pretty much on schedule from a design perspective. Like I said, we're hoping to have final design and initiate conversations with the agency representatives, DNR, and the Corps of Engineers starting this fall and moving into next spring as we move toward final design. And we would anticipate, if NOAA funding is awarded, we'd anticipate the earliest we could start construction would likely be mid to late 2027. So that schedule is high level. There's a lot yet to come based on the funding sources. So, and with that, I'll turn it over to Patrick, who will talk about existing conditions in the stream design.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Everybody, I'm Pat Philbin with Stantec, part of the design, or the lead of the design team on the stream restoration project, or part of the design boys, as Amy would call us. I've not heard that phrase before. It's interesting. Getting into the existing conditions, we want to understand the erosional processes that are happening out there with the stream currently. And we look to the channel evolution model. With this model, we begin at stage 1. That's a well intact, a stable channel, low flow channel, and this low flow channel conveys the base flow. And then whenever we get storms, the waters rise, they breach the banks and come out on the floodplain, the energy is dissipated. And in this state, at stage 1, we would consider this somewhat of a stable form that it's able to maintain itself. But in Valley Creek's case, you get some development within the watershed, also some development and encroachment within the floodplain itself. You start to see increased storm flows, peak storm flows, and also some more water coming down through the valley and concentrating down into the channel. And whenever this happens, the channel responds to that through down cutting. And all the energy begins to focus within that channel, and then at a certain point, it starts to expose the banks, and the banks erode. And so that's what we're seeing out there now in Valley Creek in a lot of these problem areas. Here's an area of the upper extents of our project. This is the existing conditions map. The red is more or less showing where we're finding these erosion areas. And that's predominantly along most of the outside banks. And within this upper extent of the project area, we've got 2 crossings beginning upstream. We've got Norport Drive, and then downstream a little ways, there's Hales Trail. And let's begin at Norport Drive. The culvert at Norport Drive currently is undersized. It's acting as a hydraulic barrier as well as a aquatic species barrier. So whenever the storm flows are coming through, they start building up and ponding upstream. And then we're finding in the hydraulic model that the 50-year storm is overtopping the road. And then at the downstream end of it, it's coming out like a fire hose and creating this large scour feature. If we just turn ourselves around with the culvert to our back, look downstream, we can see how the channel evolution starts to play into this. Is we've got down cutting in the channel bed, it's abandoned its upper floodplain, and those flows are concentrated within the channel and starting to progress into stage 3, where we're seeing more bank erosion and bank failures. Continuing downstream, this is just a quick picture of where the channel's eroding the banks, cutting into the existing bluff feature. And then we get to the second crossing at Hales Trail. Very similar feature or same scenario as the Northport Drive crossing. We've got a nice stable reach above there, the ponding up, and then it's coming down, creating a big scour feature downstream. And similarly, if we turn around with the culvert to our back and we look downstream, we're seeing that channel incision and active bank erosion. And then going down even further in our project reach, there's a failing wall. The bank's starting to erode to the right here. We're looking downstream, and it's starting to encroach upon the overhead utilities and the utility poles and making its way over to the trail, and we'd like to protect that. And then going further downstream, just so happened to be an area that we've looked at, and we use this culvert here as sort of a timestamp, essentially. So you could imagine whenever that culvert was put in place initially, it was built out to where the bank was at the time. And as years have progressed, that this channel has downcut and pushed back the extent of what we can see in that exposed culvert. And then a few instances, we actually see what we would like to have our proposed product look like. And these are very few instances, but this happens to be one of them. You see less bank erosion here, a low flow channel, and an active floodplain that's dissipating the energy of the stream. And then this is just a picture of where we plan on tying in. This is the channel just before it enters down into the Lake Street culvert. So how do we plan on addressing these issues that we're seeing through the Valley Creek corridor? Getting back to the channel evolution model, we talked about, we're seeing stage 2 and stage 3. What we want to do is create a new scenario where we reintroduce the stage 1 channel. So that's at the bottom here, and that will be done by filling up the channel bed a little bit, excavating out the eroded banks to give more flow area and allow for that channel, that low flow channel, to do its work, and then the floodwaters to dissipate out on this newly excavated floodplain. To give an example of what that looks like, this is where the failing wall was, and we'll be able to bring that channel bed up and then move it over to the left a little bit, and then lay back the slope that's currently eroding, and then open up more of a floodplain out to the left. And throughout the whole entire corridor, we plan on planting some types of native habitat or native plantings, and this will be nice and greened up for us too. And then this is just an example of a riffle that would be running through our project reach. We'd be using the existing rock and bringing some newer rock onto site to fortify up the channel bed. And then anywhere we're proposing bends within our channel, our new channel alignment, we'd be putting in these types of bioengineered structures. This is a wood toe here. It's just comprised of a bunch of logs and sticks and plantings along the toe of the bank, which would provide some stability in areas where we traditionally see a lot of erosion along the outside of banks to provide that protection. So continuing through, this is our proposed concept at the moment, and this is the upper reaches. You can see we're starting upstream at Northport Drive. The blue area here is our proposed new channel alignment, and the darker green area is the lower inset floodplain. And then outside those bounds, the lighter green is our slopes tying back up to existing. And then continuing downstream, this is the lower extents that we're showing. We're bringing our proposed channel work down to the parking area at Lake Street, and we'll have more conversation about the Lake Street area just in a moment. So areas where we don't have the ability to create that channel or low flow channel and floodplain complex, we're going to put in step pool structures. And these are essentially just a series of large rock, boulder rock veins, and pools to dissipate energy rather than dispersing that energy outward. We're going to combat that erosive energy with these larger rock features and scour pools. And then this is another example looking upstream of what that would possibly look like. Continuing, we talked about the 2 crossings, which are an issue right now. Right now, our bridge engineers are actually looking through 2 possible alternatives, one being a 3-sided culvert, such as this, and then the second option being a single span. And we're working with them to try to get some type of finalized concept for that. And now focusing in on the Lake Street alternatives, we understand that there has been some flooding issues down there, and we'd like to propose some solutions to alleviate that. The first approach is simply just removing the existing culvert. Right now, it's undersized. It's passing the 10-year storm, and anytime we're seeing larger stream flow, it's overtopping and flooding out the Lake Street. And something we wanted to consider in this is, there's minimal parking space already down there, and we would just like to maintain that parking space for you guys to have for these events and everything that you have down here. So by removing the existing culvert, taking and replacing that with a larger culvert, that would convey larger storms and alleviating those flooding issues. And then daylighting that out into just as it gets beyond the parking area into an open channel the last 200 or 300 feet before it ends up in Lake Michigan. Second alternative is a split flow scenario. So as we understand, the existing culvert maintains the 10-year storm. So we would allow for the 10-year storm to pass through the existing channel and go through the existing culvert. But any storm flows above there would access this overflow wetland complex to the left where the Gunther Bike Park currently is. And then we would place in a proposed storm inlet at this location and convey the flood flows subsurface through a culvert underneath the parking area of Lake Street and daylight that out into the new open channel. And I'd like to turn it over to Aaron to talk about some of the stormwater.
Almost done here, I think, with the prepared presentation. There's just a couple more elements that I wanted to talk about. We're also going to be working in stormwater treatment features. There are many storm sewers that currently discharge to the creek without any sort of treatment. A lot of them are causing scour and erosion where they discharge. So a concept that we will be looking to implement is called regenerative stormwater conveyance at many of the outfalls here. So on the left there is an example of what one of the current storm sewer outfalls to Valley Creek looks like. On the right is an example from the Milwaukee area of one of these regenerative stormwater conveyance systems. They are sort of a small scale version of the step pool system that Patrick talked about. Basically, the idea is that they use a series of rock cascades or rock drops combined with pools to both protect against scour and erosion and also to some extent filter stormwater as it passes through there, rather than just having storm sewers outfall out of the creek without any sort of water quality treatment and without, really adequate stabilization or scour. We're also looking at some restoration or some improvement to kind of a side branch of Valley Creek. We've sort of given it the working name of Walter Street Ravine. Previously, we were referring to it as the ravine that didn't have a name, that got kind of cumbersome. It starts down in the lower left. I don't know how well it shows, but it starts at the intersection of Whitefish, Lakeview, and Walters, where they all sort of come together. And then it runs southeast to Valley Creek. we didn't want to call it the Whitefish Ravine because Whitefish sort of loops around. There's actually a couple different ravines and channels that come off of Whitefish and Lakeview. But if you call it Walter Street, that sort of pins it down. But if anyone wants to get their name or suggest an alternate name for this ravine, there's still time. This is similar to Valley Creek itself. The ravine has experienced a lot of the similar issues, just on a smaller scale. There are several storm sewer outfalls. There's no stormwater detention because of the age of the development in the watershed. Unlike some of the newer areas of Port Washington where we're putting in stormwater management ponds and green infrastructure and stuff like that. So there's down cutting, channel instability, channel erosion, some of the same things that Patrick talked about on Valley Creek itself. Here's a photo of existing conditions. We're looking at a step pool system here. Patrick has talked about a similar step pool system that we'd be looking to implement in certain parts of Valley Creek itself. Again, as Patrick mentioned, this is an approach where the valley is steep and confined. There's not really room to allow that stream and floodplain to sort of spread out and dissipate its energy and flow that way. But with these drops of water, we kind of use rock drops to control some of that energy and that force with pools spaced between them. And the idea is that, the pools provide maybe some filtering, maybe some aquatic habitat and so forth. This is an alternative to 30 or 40 years ago. What people did was they just would totally armor a ravine, just dump. It'd be like a straight run of big riprap all the way down. In some cases, that worked okay for stabilization. We're finding that if we look at something that includes pools and riffles and stuff like that, generally people find it looks nicer. It adds some of that ecological and habitat value also. So be looking at a similar concept. Something we've also been talking about with the city staff is trail access, potentially like a step, maybe a stone step system or something like that coming down from Whitefish. Not a paved trail then, but maybe some kind of footpath that runs through this valley, parallels the ravine. Still trying to figure out where it'd go. Things are really tight, so we're looking at options. Is it going to run right next to the bottom of the ravine? Is it going to kind of go down the more on the valley slopes? But the idea was that it would ultimately then connect to the Ozaki Interurban Trail, perhaps, and maybe offer some kind of connection. I think that is it for the prepared slides. So I guess we'll open it up at this time for city staff. I don't know if you guys had any comments or anything else you wanted to say, or if we want to open it up for questions now. Yeah.
Well, if you have anything first.
No, I don't have anything.
All right. I don't know if anyone else has any comments first. I have a couple. Okay. Since you did it last, the Walter Street Ravine, I don't know if there ever was a name for it. I know that land supposedly was dedicated to the city as parkland once upon a time. But those neighborhoods right in there are very close to Upper Lake Park, which is one of our few grand parks, but yet are very far away in accessing it. So yes, having a path of some sort down, if it could be an accessible path that would get down, that we could plan for someday to have a future bridge crossing somewhere in there of the creek to get better accessibility into Upper Lake Park, would bring those neighborhoods much closer to one of our best parks. Because right now, it's a long circuitous route to get there. So yeah, a path there would be great.
Yeah. I just want to interject.
Yeah.
If by accessible you mean ADA accessible, that would be pretty
that would be the
challenging.
gold standard.
Yeah. We can look at options. The drop from Whitefish there down into the ravine bottom is pretty steep. So we started to look at that.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty tough, So right now we're We're leaning towards some sort of like step or stairway system, which, obviously is not fully ADA accessible, but, we can continue to look at options there. But yeah, the idea is that it be accessible to the extent that the terrain allows there. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing in there too. If it has steps, you are going to have kids and mountain bikers riding down those steps on their bikes. So you have to account for that. That will happen.
Yeah.
Some people will be more successful at it than others. Other question I had was I'll stay towards the end. With the culvert crossing at Lake Street. One thing is with replacing a box culvert, and even though we're daylighting it in the park, culverts aren't typically very picturesque. Nobody goes and takes pictures or admires your box culvert entry. It might be worth losing some of the parking in order to make a shorter more bridge-like crossing that is just Lake Street. There is some opportunity down there for more parking because west of the band shell along the wastewater treatment plant access road, that's been widened out a little bit at the request of Fish Day, and it really isn't used for much. It's a little bit of parallel parking. That could be angle parking in there that could make up for a lot of parking that would be lost in order to make a more naturalized creek with a shorter crossing, which also is probably cheaper to do the shorter crossing as well. So just say to put that in consideration. Other question I had was at River Curves, we were showing the logs along the side of the creek. What type of maintenance will the city have to do to maintain that? Because I presume if they're logs, they're eventually going to rot away and we're going to have to do something else unless we're planning it. This is naturalizing the creek enough that we don't worry about the lack of logs in the future, which I'm guessing we would be looking to replace them. So how
Sounds like a Patrick
often?
question.
I can
Yeah.
answer that one. The idea behind that is to have an aging structure. So, as initially the logs would create that form and the stability, and then they will decay eventually. But as the first 5 to 10 to 15 years in their lifespan, we imagine that a lot more willows and other rooting mass would take hold in that bank. And so that initial log structure would decay out, and then we'd have the rooting mass of the new plants that come up. And
Okay.
they would be serving as that bank protection. So there is no maintenance along there.
Okay.
Yeah. Other than maybe if it becomes, if there's a lot of trash that gets carried down the river and you guys would like to see a cleaner river corridor, have some cleanup days or something like that, it would come along with it.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, could I just
Yeah, go
interject?
ahead.
Because this is kind of, one of my questions very related to that was kind of about the with these pools and everything in these different areas, if we're going to have to if we have to do this, fine, but continually inspect them, and are they going to wear down? I would think they would with natural erosion and that type of thing.
Right.
And can we
Yeah.
keep those restored, or is that?
Yeah, there's some type of malleability built into this design. We're working with a natural environment. Stream flows are very dynamic. So as far as maintenance goes with them, it's being designed as a self-maintaining system. That's the initial intent with this. So as far as maintenance that you're concerned with, I wouldn't imagine much. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. I live on Valley Creek, and I'm very excited about this. My house was in one of the slides with a lot of erosion right behind it. So back to the wood tow bank protection. I had never heard of that. I think it's an interesting idea. I guess, where does the wood come from? Do you bring logs in, or are you going to use, because there's a
Well,
lot of dead trees down there.
Right. We're fortunate to have a lot of trees available on site. That's part of the reason why I was considering implementing the wood tow protection.
Sure.
So we could reuse the trees that get removed in the process of building this project and clearing out some land, and we'll use that for the bank structures. Yeah.
Cool.
Mike?
Yep, go ahead.
So you used the phrase proposed concept for the moment. What would change the moment?
I may have misspoke there. It is our proposed concept.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Words mean something, so.
they do. Yes, thank you for clarifying, yeah.
Thank you.
Couple of quick questions on, you talked about starting it in late 2027, construction realistically was what you said. Is this a kind of a project during the winter months you wouldn't be able to do much, or is it going to be, are there things you can do pretty much year round?
Yeah, this will be pretty much year-round, dependent on rainstorms and such. Whenever it starts raining, we try to get out of the stream. But in
That'd be a good
wintertime,
idea.
we've got low flows in the wintertime, so we could take advantage of that and construct in the winter as well.
Okay, and, I think it was you that mentioned the poles and the armor stone that you were going to use in certain areas where you couldn't do that. How did they deal with like a heavy flow? I mean, do they reduce it, or is that a method of kind of controlling that? Or if you go into a little more detail on that?
Yeah, so the step pull features
Yeah.
you're kind of talking about. Yeah, so we talked about how we would have the channel typically can access the floodplain, disperse out, but we got our hands tied behind our back in a few areas where we've got steeper valley slopes and a lot more condensed area that we can expand outward. So we'll place in some really large boulder structures. We're talking 2 to 3 foot boulders, and they create an arched sill that span across the channel bottom, if you could picture that. And over top of that, that energy scours out the pools. And these arches are spaced in a manner that allows for that scour to happen, and the energy gets dissipated within that pool, and then it'll drop over the next vein arm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That helps me.
Yeah.
Am I still on? I think I have one more thing here. I'm going to ask a question that was answered there. There are a lot of ash trees down all over this area, or if they're not down yet, they're going to be down shortly.
Right.
Is there a plan to deal with those and get them out of there?
Yeah, a lot of this project is going to have grading that's going to impact the neighboring trees. So we're gonna be clearing out some of the trees. The ash will definitely be targeted at first, and then there'll be some other trees that need to be removed as well to get this whole grading into the corridor.
Okay, thank you.
Can just add that I think John Crane's been asked to say, hey, what are your special trees down there that you want us to save, and then anything else is pretty good.
And I'm new to the committee, but, so why are we waiting to 27?
It's a pretty long process as far as the design goes, and then we need to communicate with the permitting agencies. So there's a
It'll
lot
take
of
a
back
whole
and
year.
forth. Yes, yeah.
Thank you.
Funding as well, yeah.
Okay, funding.
Yep.
Thank you.
Once you start construction, how long do you anticipate it taking?
That is something that I haven't fully considered yet, because there's a lot of segments of this. If we think about, we've got the Lake Street area, that can be a project in itself. And then you got a mile of stream restoration. That could be, that the stream restoration alone, we would be looking at 4 to 6 months likely construction time. And then you've got the crossings as well, and that would be additional time. So that's something that we need to consider moving forward.
There may also be restrictions due to fish passage and so forth. Sarah, I don't know. You might know more about that than I do, but we've got people, Amy mentioned it a little bit, UW people and others that have been doing a lot of interesting work on fish. You may not realize it's looks like a pretty small stream, but there are, a variety of fish species. And then, so the permitting agencies like DNR will have certain windows of time typically that they allow and don't allow certain kinds of construction activities. So that will also affect the construction schedule.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what staging-wise, what part you're considering going first or what needs to, but considering that it seems like over the last 30 years, we've been getting a 500-year storm on the average of once every 8 years that floods out the Lake Street area. I would love to see that done as soon as possible. because it does threaten our water treatment plant. And there's some people down there that are really sick and tired of having to buy new cars every couple of years.
Yeah, all right, we'll keep that in mind, yeah.
Thank you.
One more, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
One more question. I'm kind of intrigued by that, the alternative where you had the second flow method, I think is right up there.
Yes.
Can you explain a little more how that works? I mean, so it rises to a certain level. If it rises to a certain level, then it goes off
Correct.
that second way?
Yeah, so that where we have the wetland inlet diversion structure basically is just a lower sill, if you could imagine that. And then once the water reaches a certain level, it starts to siphon off and go over and access that area and then wets that whole area through the wetland complex and then is received by that stormwater inlet.
See, we'd have to tell people that's supposed to happen.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
So you show replacing the crossing at Hales Trails. And I would probably vote for the three-sided culvert over the bridge. But would we also be replacing the crossing at Northport then? Or would we be keeping that same pipe?
Both would be replaced.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Can I ask Mike, why do you prefer the culvert over the bridge?
Generally, well, it depends on the culvert type structure, what you're doing. Generally, the culvert type structure tends to last longer with less maintenance than a bridge. But I suppose that depends upon what you're doing. I mean, you could look at the Grand Avenue Bridge on Saw Creek was built in 1917, I believe, and is one of the oldest existing bridges in the county, and it's still in really good shape. It's been expanded a lot over the years, but that type of structure seems to hold up well. I'm not sure if you're looking at something like say Contex, where they have their rapid insertion aluminum type structures, exactly what the longevity of that is. But when you start to get a bigger bridge, that is much more expensive. It tends to be more expensive to maintain because you got to widen it. It's much longer crossing. You got a bridge deck and stuff, where with the culvert, you basically just do the road over the top yet. So that's my concern, just that bridge structures seem like they're a bigger ongoing maintenance obligation than a culvert.
Did you want to speak to hydraulics?
Well, the reason why we're considering both options, we wanted to show that to you guys, see if there was any preference, because there's the ability to have both of these work for us hydraulically. Yes.
And Mike, you mentioned Hales Trail, but based on your comments, Northport and Hales Trail.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm assuming Northport is more of just a larger pipe type structure or multiple pipes. I would imagine, because there's not a lot of vertical clearance to be had for the road there, and we probably don't want to build a 10-foot hill to put the road over the creek. So that's, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm imagining it's more of a pipe type structure.
It would be a lower arched three-sided culvert.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be just spanned out more and not quite go up
Right,
as
but it's
high.
only it's only like 3 feet high. It's not going to be it's not going to be a bridge-like culvert structure. It's smaller than that.
Right, yeah, we'd have to see the space that we work with, but I was fitting in, because currently that culvert's 6 feet high right now. It's a 6-foot
That's at Hales.
at both Hales and Northport.
Okay, I thought Northport was only a 36-inch pipe, but
No,
all right.
yeah.
Okay.
Would it be possible to bring up the slide that had the two options on it?
Yeah, and these are just computer generated, so.
Plus, that looks prettier.
Yeah, I agree. I did like this better aesthetically. I was interested to hear your guys' thoughts on it, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm just making assumptions based off the structures. What's a bigger maintenance obligation, cost more in the future. So if you have better numbers to prove me wrong,
Yeah.
by all means, we'll
Okay.
listen to them.
I guess my concern, and this is something we'll have to work out though, is I worry about, someday debris is gonna get back into the channel, and I worry that could clog debris more than, the bridge is such an open space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be more of a catch, yeah.
I actually kind of like the bridge better.
The other thing we've talked about is a bridge does offer the possibility of running a trail, through the bridge opening. Sometimes you may have seen that done. You just kind of build a little shelf or bench next to the stream. So, I guess we haven't talked about it a lot. I think it's something we'll be looking at more in the future. But, trails and trail connectivity in here, a bridge opening would, probably work better if you want to have a trail, that didn't have to rise to street level and cross the street. So just something to consider also.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I thank you for the presentation. It was
Thank you,
very
guys.
interesting. Could we get a copy of the 30% proposal showing what's done, or just those couple
I
slides? maybe?
emailed the presentation to all of you.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, just during the presentation.
Okay, all right.
'Cause
Thank
it
you.
was a little harder to see on the screen than on the computer. So anyhow,
All right. Then, if there's no more questions or comments, we'll move on to item 5, report on sewer surcharge from August 9th to 10th storm event on West Walter Street.
okay. And yes, thank you all from Stantec team and LNRP. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, moving on to, of course, our August 9th and 10th storm. While for the most part, we saw a lot fewer problems with sanitary sewer surcharging than we have in the past on other large-scale events. On West Walter Street, which is one of our known areas for sewer surcharging, we had, I think, 3 or 4 homes that had a few inches of sewage in their basement, and this follows, depending how long each resident had lived there, at least 3 or 4 other events where they've had up to multiple feet of sewage in their basement. And of course, that's something that no one should ever have to experience ever. So we met with them that week after the storm, and I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we promised to do to respond. And this kind of tees up the next item on the agenda, which is smoke testing. We have the main problem with the sewer is really the depth of it in the home. So Walter Street pitches to the street where they live, slopes to the west. The sewer slopes to the east. So, over I don't want to say it's 300 or 500 feet. I mean, that starts making a big difference in grade, and so that winds up affecting residents having essentially shallower sewers or shallower sewer laterals. And so sewage, if it's backed up in the pipe at all, will wind up backing up into their laterals. So any amount of infiltration and inflow can really affect it. And so we're gonna smoke test it, and hopefully we'll find some low-hanging fruit where we can discover either illegal connections or connections of which we're unaware, or leaks in the system. And so I'll save that for our next agenda item, but we went out and did get a proposal from Strand Engineering, who has done our smoke testing in the past, to perform this work. So televising, this is something that, of course, we do as the course of our normal maintenance on sewers. We don't televise all the system in one year. We do it in segments, but we will expedite the televising of this sewer shed over the next few months. Lining, we are lining all of our sanitary sewers in conjunction with our paving program, and this area of the city is in our paving program. We don't have a year pegged down on it yet, but it's going to certainly be in the next decade, if not much sooner than that. And so we will expedite the lining of this area to also get as much infiltration out of the system as we can. Inflow inspections we perform when we inspect for both backflow preventer, cross connections and meter replacement. And so we have done additional work on making sure that we have those inspections on record for every single house in that sewer shed. And resident notifications, this is something we hope to get in a sewer utility bill yet this year, but it might wind up being early next year, which is just fine because that'll coincide with spring and that's when we have some of our larger issues. Just notifying people that, if you run your sump pump into the laundry tub, it may seem like no big deal to you, but it affects people pretty significantly downstream. And so just making people aware that if you have illegal connections or are introducing clear water intentionally into the sanitary sewer system, you're really hurting your neighbors. And so getting that information out there. And then flow monitoring, once we've completed all these activities, working with Strand to do additional flow monitoring in that sewer shed. They performed sewer monitoring as part of our sanitary sewer evaluation that was completed just a few years ago. And so we want to measure the impact of what we've done here. So part of the evaluation that was, again, completed just a few years ago included upsizing the pipe and lowering it as well, which goes through an easement in leading to Pierre. So from Walter Street down through the easement to Pierre and then down the hill, Pierre Lane. And so that work is over $1 million. So one of the things that we are considering in the meantime, since that is currently work that is not scheduled, is coming back with a recommendation possibly to install backflow preventers in each of the sewer laterals. So this is something that Dan Fisher informed me they did in Grafton in a similar situation, and it offers that assurance that people won't have sewage backing up into their basements really ever. They take ownership of it, and so they have the ongoing maintenance in perpetuity, but the utility installs it. So that's something we're going to be looking at and bringing back at a future meeting. But I think that is something that would be well received so that people don't have to be up all night when it's raining. And in the meantime, takes the stress off of our budget and construction programming in terms of replacing that sewer so we can program that later if necessary. So that's what we're doing. I just want to let you know that that's something that's been ongoing and something that, again, we've made promises because certainly it's our job to keep sewage out of basements. And happy to report that I think if we do these things, they should see some real positive effects. And I'll made a promise to them too that I would keep informing them of our progress, and I'll keep informing the board of our progress. And I guess first on the agenda will be the smoke testing, which is again the next agenda item. But on a general scale, are there any questions about any of this?
When you do this smoke testing, I assume you've done it in the past. How often do you find illegal connections? Or, I mean, you said that's low-lying fruit. Is that?
It can be. It's not. If you're lucky, you'll see smoke. If there's smoke, for instance, if it's connected to a catch basin, it'll come pouring out of the catch basin. Sometimes, because of either traps and drains or whatnot. It's not gonna, if someone has an illegal connection from their sump pump into the laundry tub, that's not gonna come, we're not gonna see that. But you will see if there's cracks in pipes, you'll see if there's, cross connections, you'll see if there's downspouts, thanks. Yeah, so that's a huge one. If people have their downspouts connected, that's a tremendous immediate impact on the sewer. And it just can take 1 or 2 downspouts to back up a system. So if we find those are really good. We don't want them to be out there, but if they're there, we want to know. So it's not a perfect method to find sources of I&I, but it is a rather inexpensive and often used method of finding laterals. So when we did a similar report back in 2014, and we had pages and pages of places that were discovered that we wound up going, and sometimes it's just even so all our manholes are solid, so it'll come up through like manhole covers that it'll just bring to your attention like where the smoke is pouring out of. So leaky manholes, leaky manhole covers, things of that nature. So, and I'd like to think that in part because of the work we did, remove the I&I from our 2014 testing. That is part of the reason we didn't have as many sewer backups in the last storm, but hard to know.
I do have one more question. The individual backflow preventers in the private laterals, where do those go in the lateral?
Likely in the parkway. Yeah.
So these would be like between where the lateral is and where it joins us?
Between the
joins us-
main, yeah,
okay.
right. So they'd become part of the lateral.
All right.
Yeah, and there'd be a clean out there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
I guess I have one question. So the affected homes, what happens financially between them and the city? Or is it homeowners insurance? Is it city's responsibility? Because what are the costs of, like, what are the city's costs of every time this occurs? Is there a cost to the city?
There's not a cost to the city.
Okay.
But we'd like to stop it anyway.
Yes, of course, right.
So I just,
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
like,
it's.
I just see that, like, the inflow inspections, like, if there's something that can be done relatively soon to mitigate that, like, how many homes are in this affected neighborhood? Is there a way to, concentrate to specific homes that are on that portion of the lateral? Like, is there a way to maybe expedite a few things? And
Yeah.
Just address some of that low-hanging fruit.
I mean, it's hundreds of homes. So whether they're close to the problem or far away from the problem does not matter. So and I mean, the amount of I&I in this sewer shed is a little bit greater than our other sewer sheds, but it's not like, it's not like jaw dropping. So I think the problem really is, I'm not even sure how they built this subdivision because in any case, so again, because the sewer goes against the grade, people just wound up having very, and I want to say that 1 or 2 people have deeper basements too. That doesn't help. So in any case, but the sewage only has to back up like a foot into the sewer system, and that's a problem already for these people. And
Yeah,
they didn't build a house, so they don't.
I'm kind of amazed that with the middle school upstream from there, that 8 inch is all that we ever ended up with.
Is the school on the?
On the map you gave, it showed middle school being upstream from there.
Okay.
Okay, so the middle school's not connected into the,
I didn't think it was.
okay, it's colored in the same color.
Oh,
There's-
okay.
that's why I assumed it was.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. it's-
Then I'm slightly less concerned about
Okay.
that. All right. Any other comments or questions? No? Then should we move on to Be item 6, consideration and possible action on a task order with Strand Engineering to perform smoke testing in the Walters Jefferson Whitefish Fairview watershed.
All right, we covered most of the background and the reason we want to do this. So really after smoke testing is done, we're going to get a report from Strand, and they say in their proposal here up to 4 ways of attacking issues that they find. Strand's usually pretty good with us. If there's other easy identified things, that they'll list them also. Anyway, they'll assemble the results and give us a path forward with, how to look at the results and implement solutions. We've had a good working relationship with Strand, and they were here. Mary Lou, you probably missed that. They did a presentation on our wastewater collection system, if you remember a while back, identifying all these interceptors, this being one of them, that could use some more capacity. So I guess that's sidetracked here from the smoke testing. So anyway, I guess we recommend approval of the smoke testing. We would like we want to get it done before frost. So if we're not able to, I guess if we're not able to act now, it'll be more of an April, May thing.
All right. Do we have any comments or questions on the smoke testing?
I do.
You do? Go ahead.
So it'll be for the 10,829 feet that's listed on there. All of that area that's listed in red will be smoke tested. Is that correct?
Yes.
Will smoke in any way go into people's homes?
I suppose if they would have a cracked pipe, it's
Okay,
possible, but it should not.
okay.
Or dry trap. So they send out notices to the residents, I do believe.
Yes.
where- Yeah, okay.
And it is a non-toxic smoke,
Right.
but I mean, it's still,
Well, I saw-
it would freak you out probably. for
Florida
us.
had a
Yeah,
little
people don't
video,
like it when it.
video on it, but, and then you have initial project cost estimated 21,000, approved budget project cost 25,000. So what are you asking for, the 21 or 25?
21.
The
So we had $25,000 in our 2025 budget for sanitary sewer collection work. So this will fit underneath that amount.
Yeah, and just to clarify, then this is funded through the sanitary sewer utility, not out of the general funds, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any additional comments, questions? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
I'd love to make a motion on this to approve as recommended because I live on Webster Street and I've gone through 3 floodings and it's not pretty. You can relate. I can relate.
All right, we have a motion by Alderwoman Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Committee Member Pauly. Any questions or comments on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that'll bring us to item 7, consideration and possible action on construction change order 3 at the water treatment plant.
All right, like we said last month, we were gonna come here more frequently with our change orders. So we have change order 3 tonight, which consists of 2 items. The first item is item number 18, which is furring and adding drywall to the field operations room, the Plant 1 vestibule, balcony, and the upstairs office, the superintendent office. I know most of you guys have walked through the plant, and I kind of tried to do my best to show you what was going on during the walkthrough, to just kind of show you these areas. I also, in the packet, included some pictures just to kind of narrow in on what it looked like pre. So just before the project even started, we had to do some major asbestos removal with some pipe wrapping and flooring. So it was a little more extensive than the initial inspection. So they kind of had to cut out a lot more of the ceiling. The flooring was removed, which damaged some of the walls. So after walking through with C.D. Smith, superintendent at the time, we decided that the best course of action was to basically just drywall these rooms in these areas for a better finish. Plus, it's a little bit more operationally good for the field staff to be able to have some walls that they can actually hang stuff on in the field operations room. So that's basically what's changed. Sorry, item 18 is about. Item 26 is installing a new door in the superintendent office. This door gives access to the east side of the plant roof, which is basically one ladder system away from getting to our clear well. Currently, we have to either put a ladder onto the roof from the ground level and then climb another 2 ladder levels basically to get down to the clear well, or we can go from the west side of the building up and over the building and back down to the east side. So it's not ideal for when we need to inspect the tank, take it down and clean it. Also on right outside of this room is a major water line. So we added a connection just recently to be able to hook up a larger hose. So if we do put this door in, we'll be able to run the hose through the office, out onto the roof, down to the tank, and it's like half the distance. So very ideal to just gain access to the east side of the building. So that's actually it for the really explanation of these 2 items. Any questions?
Just
Yeah.
one small one. So the ceilings will continue, the field operation room, the ceiling will continue to be exposed, or do you plan on,
The ceiling will be finished,
and,
and the same with the upstairs office. And then the balcony vestibule, old vestibule area was finished as well. We had some pretty major piping that was replaced because there's a bathroom right next to this area. So that had to get a new ceiling.
All right, are any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion on this item.
I would move to approve change order number 3.
All right, we have a motion by Alderman Tierney. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by committee member Studendorf. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That will bring us then to item 8, consideration and possible action on construction change order 3 at the wastewater treatment plant.
All right. So as with the water, we're adding up our items at the wastewater plant. So this change order includes a rather large credit that city crews remove some sludge out of the tank rather than having a contractor do it. So credit to the crews for doing that work. There was some spalled concrete and steel coat, that steel plate that was rusted and corroded on top of the secondary digester, so that concrete was fixed. The steel plate was recoated, replaced where necessary. There was some abandoned pipe along basically the garage where you come in, and we just had that pipe removed while they were doing other work in there. So that's 3C. So that included some sidewalk access hatches, some paint, pavement. Again, it's more crack injections to plug leaks on a tunnel next to the aeration tanks. the chemical tank vent where we feed a ferrous chloride. Ferrous chloride's a pretty corrosive chemical, and the way our hauler was, they fill the tank up, and then when they're done filling, so that there's not any drips, they blow the line out. When they were blowing that line out, it was coming back through a vent, basically right on the driver operator. So we had that vent extended. In the Headworks buildings, that's a frequent spot of cleaning. The operators didn't have any hot water, so we extended hot water over there. And then the boiler heat exchanger needed some electrical work, so we had that done. What's not will be a future item here is I think it's actually the other boiler, but this one's similar. But the second boiler, when we had that drain down to do some work, when they filled it up, it leaked all over, and so we took it apart, and it's very corroded. So we're getting pricing on that, but that's not included as part of this change order, but that'll be a future item. So anyways, the net cost of this change order is roughly $33,000, and for this project, this puts us at roughly about 2.5% of the bid price with change orders. And we're about 60% through, so we're in pretty good shape.
What was the original, the budget with the contingency?
The original budget with contingencies is the 11 million. So there, I want to say about 700,000 of that is contingency.
700,000 above the 11 million, or
No,
including
included in that 11
including
million.
11 million? Okay, so we're about almost 300,000 over the contingency right now then with this
No,
amount?
not in ways okay, repeat your question.
Okay, so we had the initial project cost estimate was just over 11 million. I presume we had a contingency of like 5% on here or something?
Yep.
So that would be another, you said 700,000, so it'd be like 11,700,000 with the contingency is what we had budgeted, I presume? Is that number's not on?
No, the Clean Water Fund loan is the $11 million.
Okay.
So our which includes the contingency, and so our bid price was, I guess, Mike, let me, I'll respond to this board. Let me look at my notes when I get back in the office tomorrow, make sure that I'm getting you guys all the right numbers.
Okay. I was just trying to clarify if we were beyond, we're adding this stuff and it's beyond our budget, then it's outside the loan, so we're taking this out of wastewater
No,
reserves, or-
we're quite comfortably in our loan amount.
Okay, all right. That answers the question I wanted to get at. Okay. Any other questions, comments? If there are none, I would entertain a motion for this item.
I will make a motion to approve the construction change order 3 at the wastewater treatment plant.
So we have a motion by Alderman Tierney. Is there a second?
Oh, go ahead.
Second.
Okay, second by committee member Pauly. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So, thank you, Dan. That moves us to item 9, third quarter report on the Board of Public Works Charter for 2025.
Okay, so this is our third quarter report for the Public Works Charter.
Before you scroll past that page, I have one question on it, on organization. Since the Common Council had changed the mayor's appointment dates to be later, do we need to have an ordinance changing when the chairperson is selected from the fourth Tuesday in April to be after the mayor makes his appointments?
There's a few things in here that need to be cleaned up for next. I just left them in since this was what we had in January. But I thought what you were going to say is what the larger to it is that Parks and Forestry Division is no longer underneath Public Works. So that
too.
That's another. So we're going to be cleaning all that up hopefully in January when we're in the first quarter of next year. So
Okay. I'm just bringing it up because otherwise I'm afraid it'll be 3 years from now and we won't have cleaned it up yet.
it could be, well, and sorry, that's the one, oh, the organization?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a note. Okay.
So,
And
yeah, just next time the opportunity arises,
Sure.
include that stuff.
And did I? Yeah. And so I'll read our mission statement because I had this conversation with Mary Lou about making sure that everyone on the board was aware of our mission statement. We will create strong policy to support our public infrastructure by demonstrating stewardship, working with the budget, and using our staff expertise. We have our strategic goals listed, and that's really what I typically go through when we have our quarterly report. And so you can see we do, we have a number of items under our strategic goals. So I'll kind of blow through them as quickly as we can. Most of them were either complete or on schedule. For instance, in the street department, crack filling and the pavement patching that we do every year, that is complete or nearly complete, along with cleaning a third of our city sanitary sewers. We sweep the streets every month, and then fall we're through every street at least every week for the 2 months of leaf collection. Cleaning the half of the city's 400 catch basins, that takes place every December, so we haven't started that yet. We have a new street sweeper in our street department. You may remember the one that we had was not doing the job, and so we needed to get a new one. This year, that's been delivered. We have a new traffic signal at Wisconsin Grand that had outdated equipment, and I think it's a real great improvement. I'd like to hopefully have a demonstration on that sometime because it is pretty cool what you can see. We're not doing a lot with it, but you can actually see what's going on in the intersection if you want to, but we just look out the window.
The old one wasn't an old electromechanical one that you kept around as a curiosity, huh?
What's that?
The old controller wasn't an old electromechanical controller yet that you kept as a curiosity or anything.
I don't know. I'd have to ask Roger. But yeah, and the pedestrian. What I like most about it is the pedestrian feature. I think occasionally with the old one it would not work, and so then also I'm sure everyone knows occasionally the loop detectors didn't pick up traffic and people would sit there forever, and so. Anyhow,
Made sure with the video detection it works for bikes now, right?
I think it does.
It does. Okay.
Yeah. So in any case, we're real happy with that, and that's completed. And kudos to Roger and JD who made that happen. And so we have, of course, 2 more signals in the city that we, I think, have in the budget for next year, right? Yes. Yes, both of them. Okay. All right. And so we have our new loader plow, our broom bucket skid steer attachment, and our forklift. And so that closes out the street department. The water plant upgrades, we're at 50% complete for that. We're at 90% of our meter replacement, so Dan has really been tearing it up on that. We only have 400 remaining, and we're currently in the training process for using some of the alarm systems so that if anyone's even if your toilet is running, and so that'll set off an alarm, and which will notify Kim, who will find it and work with people to, let them know that they have a leaky toilet or some source or a hose that's on outside or something like that. So in any case, we're making great strides in our technology. Hydrant flushing is complete, valve exercising's on schedule, and we are 65% complete with our service line identification, and I think I have that here. We have till October 2027 to complete that, and then implement removal of lead service lines. Hydrant painting, we decided not to do this year. We'll resume that in 2026. Dan has a couple of new service trucks that do a much better job of, providing the service that we need. They have longer beds and better toolboxes and allow us to function a lot better. So kudos to Dan for getting us the proper equipment and a new skid steer loader. Wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Roger said we're 60% complete, but here it says 65% complete, so something in there. Lift station 3, so that's the lift station that's in front of Newport Shores. The bid opening is this week for the emergency generator and electrical upgrade. So water system master plan working on with Strand is on schedule, and ongoing inflow and infiltration identification, which we just talked about, that will be essentially on the schedule forever. We've completed at the marina installation of the new fuel lines and dispensing equipment. So the year previous, we had replaced the underground storage tanks, and because of budget reasons, we deferred the fuel lines and the dispensing equipment till this year, but that was completed in spring. We have not started because of fund, where the work around the fish cleaning station to improve the drainage, that's grant dependent, and so we're still working on that. So that work has not started. We are working, applying for grants, or we intend to apply for grants for parking lot improvements over at the marina. So that is, I guess that part is on schedule, but until we receive a grant, it's unlikely that we'll be able to implement some of those objectives from the parking lot study that Edgewater did for us late last year. The Pierre Lane Bridge is complete, the work that was performed on the abutments, and that's in your monthly report from engineering. Roger and Aaron Volkanine, who was here in the blue shirt, they have been working on updating our stormwater ordinances, so that is on schedule. 2025 street improvements, I'm happy to report, are finally done, so hopefully you've had an opportunity to drive down Lakeview and the adjoining streets. I think it turned out really nicely, and again, we received many compliments from happy neighbors, which is great to hear, and a real tribute to PTS, who's our contractor, and people seem to really appreciate the personal treatment they get from them. So project went well, and in fact, I don't think we had a single change order for that project, did we? Well, right, but the project itself, the original project, didn't have a single change order again. So, again, kudos not only to PTS, who are easy to work with, but Bremer always does a great job in the design, and of course, Ross is out on the project site, and so that part makes for a smooth project. So, okay, so alley design for 2026 construction, where I'd say honestly we're maybe a little bit behind where we want to be for that, but that's for construction next year, so we're good. 2025 sidewalk improvements, we've completed the survey, but still need to get that project out for bids. and some of the projects that both Roger and I are working on, which essentially are not driven by construction projects. Those are maybe a little behind, like standard specifications for developers and construction. And then later on here, there's some other similar projects that I've been working on that I have not been able to start. But let's see, Rogers will be checking best management practices for storm sewer, ponds and other BMPs this fall. The design work to eliminate the sanitary sewer crossing in Valley Creek is being designed by Roger. He's 90% complete. Our Highway 33 overlay, we received, we had our 90% design meeting just a couple of weeks ago with the DOT, and so that is still on schedule for 2026 construction. The Highway 32 and 33 ramp project is actually going to, that's still at 60% design. That is likely going to take Grand Avenue out of it because Grand Avenue is going to be a separate design project. So it's something that's still more than a decade away, but I think they're going to fold in the ramp project with that highway improvement, which is, we're probably looking at 2034. Sewer system master plan is complete. We're working on that with Strand. Amending the sewer service area, that is, well, the amendment is complete. The update is currently ongoing. Designing the LL sidewalk, we've completed the survey, but have not completed that. That's LL both at near Astor Street and down south of Sunset. Grand Avenue sidewalk, we may put a pause on that. That is part of the downtown master plan. But if we're going to reconstruct Grand Avenue, we're not going to reconstruct the sidewalk, only to have it torn out just a few years later. Sunset and LL schematic redesign, that's been essentially delayed. Although I'm happy to report the county created a right-hand only turn if you're going northbound on LL. So some of the problems that we've had with traffic incidents there is northbound LL traffic at Sunset. They'll be in the right-hand lane and then they'll scooch around a car turning left. Well, now we have that signed as a right-hand turn only. So if people are obeying the signage, they won't be in that lane to bypass a car. And hopefully we can avoid some of the accidents they've been having there. Sanitary sewer crossings at Mineral Springs Creek, that's been delayed. Morrow pedestrian bridge improvements, that was completed a few months ago. Update the city ped plan, honestly, that's been delayed a little bit just because of our schedules, but we hope to have that complete by the end of the year. You just got the update on the Valley Creek Resiliency project. The bluff stabilization drainage line construction has been delayed to 2026 just because of some funding issues from NOAA, but that is on track to be approved yet this year, right? I think, yeah. So lighthouse preservation, I think right now we're hoping for October 31st completion. Is there any update? I know Roger had a meeting there today.
Yeah, I think that October 31st is real realistic, probably the week prior. They want to take down their scaffolding on Thursday. We said, we need to do our final inspection and you need to fix whatever we point out in the final inspection before you take it down. But anyways, they're doing porthole windows today. And I know they have the ladder cage to get up. But they are looking at completion here. It's staring them right in the window. So it'll come up quick.
So besides the porthole replacement, what else? Because the painting's complete. Oh, and the concrete. Is the concrete work complete?
Concrete work's largely done. There's some touch-up work on the concrete or plaster on the inside,
And then punch list.
ceiling, the ladder, cage, and they have to paint the lower handrail yet.
Okay, all right. So essentially punch list items left, but yeah, just a couple weeks away, so it's super exciting to get that completed. I mentioned we have a second item here for the design of LL sidewalks, so specifically a clean test. We'd like to get, extend the bike trail down, connect the bike trail up to Sunset Road there, and so we are trying to work on that in-house. I have a repeat on Highway 33, sorry about that. Downtown streetlight replacement, that's on schedule, design only. GIS system upgrades on schedule. Highland Point, which is both now on the north and south side, is on schedule. Managed development is ongoing, of course. I'm sorry, this is such a long list. In any case, Mr. Ridge Stormwater Pond Improvement, that is starting next week, I think? Yes. Traffic safety improvements, that's the new rapid flashing beacons, those are in place. We have completed the street department building needs analysis, the library improvements. Do you know, Roger, when the library is going to reopen?
January 31st of '26.
Wait. Well, that's when the project will be done. When will the
Library is
reopen?
open. Library is open.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Sorry.
And- Okay, so yeah, and the public safety building is on schedule, maybe even a little ahead of schedule, but as you can see, that's going up rapidly. And then, yeah, a few of the items that are more administrative items we haven't gotten to just because of all that, we're very project heavy, as you can tell. But revising the garbage and recycling ordinance, I hope to bring that back. We do update standard operating procedures on an ongoing basis, but develop a more comprehensive process and procedure manual for the DPW divisions and a 3-year strategic plan. And then I already mentioned development handbook and specifications. So those are some of the things that are, once the dust settles on some of our projects, we can get going on in-house, but it's been a busy year. Well, it's really been a busy couple of decades, but in any case, we'll never run out of things to do. So that is the third quarter report on our strategic goals.
Well, we'll be hard pressed to give you as many buildings to work on at one time in the future.
Yeah, we have what, 4 major building improvements plus a lighthouse and contemplating DPW, street department improvements and water distribution crews, so, yeah.
Well, hopefully in 2 years you get a break on building projects for a little while.
Yeah, well, we'll have, I think we have in the budget, we have both the Pebble House and Grant Street, or Grant Street, I don't know where that came from. Judge Eggert House are both budgeted for next year, so smaller houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little smaller in a police and fire station and a water treatment plant and a sewage treatment plant. And all right. So that takes us into item 10, review monthly staff reports.
Does anyone have any questions about them? I'll spare you more talking.
If nobody has any questions, we'll continue. 11, chairman's business. I do not have any tonight. Is there any members or liaisons business? Yes.
I just emailed everybody here the wastewater plant loan schedule budget, so
Okay.
clarify everything else. So the loan amount is 12.9 million. Bid number is 11.028, which is what I have in my memo.
Yep.
So, and 550,000 for contingency.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I just have one
Yeah.
thing. The Pier Lane Bridge, I'm ecstatic that it's done. It went pretty quick, but unfortunately, some of the department's equipment was placed in an area that made it very difficult for many kids that were going to football practice, practice down there, for parents to see in and out. So it did cause a bit of a problem, or I got complaints, so just. And I think the truck like stopped out in the middle of the street but it's stuff that happens and,
Contractors' equipment or,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they put obstructions, it was a big water tank that you couldn't see to turn in to that area.
Okay.
Baseball diamond, where you'd normally go in. But just something,
In
I would
the
bring to
future,
your
feel free to
attention.
call and
Yeah.
we'll get those cleaned up.
All right. All right, any other members, liaisons business? Seeing none, move on to item 13, public comments and appearances. Any public comments, appearances? Doesn't look like any. That'll bring us item 14. Our next meeting is November 11th, 2025 at 5:30 PM in this very room, unless you come up with a better place for us to hang out. No, okay. In that case, then we'll bring us to 15, adjournment. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Alderman Tierney, second by Alderman Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
Just 1 minute past the first pitch.
Yeah, but